can call me Mystic Mike because I predict these things.
Chase Hooper takes on Lance Gibson Jr. this Saturday at UFC Fight Night, Seattle. And Lance Gibson Jr. made his UFC debut against Bobby Green back in December. Took that fight on short notice. I think it was the week of the fight. Bobby Green was supposed to be taking on Jai Herbert, who had to pull out, so Lance Gibson stepped in, lost the fight by split decision. It was a competitive fight for the most part. Not the easiest guy to step in on and take on short notice in your UFC debut. Bobby Green, who's dangerous on the feet, very well rounded, has tons of skill. And Gibson Jr., landed some hard kicks, held his own on the feet, got cracked a few times, took some good shots, his chin held up, used his footwork, his lateral movement to kind of stay safe. Got a couple takedowns in that fight as well. Was taken down once by Bobby Green, but it was because Bobby caught a leg kick and kind of got him off balance against the cage, and then he shot and got the takedown to end the third round and the fight on top with some ground and pound. So had a good showing of himself. Bobby Green was the one who was always kind of just moving forward and being the aggressor in that fight, but Lance Gibson going tit for tat with Bobby Green, exchanging in the pocket with him, landing some good strikes of his own, and really mixing it up. I thought that Bobby Green would have a much easier time with Lance Gibson going into that fight because Gibson didn't have a lot of experience. He's the son of Lance Gibson Sr, who fought in the UFC back in the day, so these guys are the first duo in the UFC. His stepmom is Julia Budd, a female women's MMA pioneer, and he had a lot of success on the regional scene. Hasn't fought the most high-level guys. A 19-42 guy got a KO over him, and then beat a guy who was 5-2 before he got his shot in the UFC, a guy who's now 5-7. Got knocked out by a jab against Vladimir Tokov, who's not terrible, over in Bellator, and does have a few fights in Bellator over some okay competition. But the resume and the experience advantage is definitely going to go to Chase Hooper, who's very good on the ground, ever improving stand-up, although we didn't see it in his last fight. So I would say, Chase Hooper, the more complete fighter, better overall MMA skill set. Think about becoming a member. It's $2.99 a month. Just click that join button down below. Just helps to support the channel. You also get a little bit exclusive content like full card breakdowns, some betting analysis on DraftKings, and we'll start to add some more exclusive content down the road. So again, thanks for the support, guys. Back to the video. And the issue with Lance Gibson Jr. is, although he did look good against Bobby Green took that fight on short notice as well. He's like 40 years old. So the jury's still out on Lance Gibson Jr. Not a lot of footage of him on the regional scene. Not a lot of high-level wins. The second that he does take on a decent guy, Vladimir Tokov, he gets sparked out in 62 seconds. But he did grow up training with his dad and his stepmom, and no slouch on the feet. Southpaw strikers, got good leg kicks, hard body kicks, decent striking, decent power, good footwork, like I said. Just very unimpressive resume, and trains out of Gibson MMA, which just seems like it's kind of a camp that's tailor-made around him, which I don't always like. Don't have a lot of fresh bodies in there, not a lot of decent training partners from what I can see, which I'm not a fan of. Chase Hooper's a young guy. He's been doing this for a long time as well, but trains at a much bigger gym, has a lot of different bodies, a lot of different looks in the training room to kind of challenge him and just force him to work with different styles and different people. And he's going to be fighting in front of his home state. He's from Enumclaw, Washington, so going to have the home field advantage in this one. And I was big on Chase Hooper for a while there. He's had some really good performances. Went to a decision with Jim Miller where he was able to lock up some pretty decent submissions over Jim Miller, who's a very high-level black belt, did well in the wrestling, was getting his takedowns, won a decision, got an armbar, out-grappled Clay Guida, who's more of a wrestler, dropped Vakoslav Borshev, dropped him in the first round, got the Darce choke in the second, which in hindsight is not the most impressive win because Borshev was kind of a bust, but he did drop him. Tapped him out, but Borshev's easy to tap out. But tapping out Jordan Levitt, decision win over Nick Fiore, kind of got beat up by Steven Peterson, what was fraud checked by Steve Garcia back in the day, took tons of damage in that fight, but again, that's Steve Garcia, who is very good. But then the Alexander Hernandez fight, he was on a 5-fight winning streak going up against Alexander Hernandez. I believe was a pretty decent favorite, -385 favorite over Alexander Hernandez, and it looked like his stand-up, it kind of just looked like he regressed in his stand-up. Going into that fight, I was like, man, he looks like a complete fighter now, not just a grappler. He was really using his length very well. And in the Hernandez fight, he was just kind of spamming, spinning back fists, like he was kind of uncomfortable on the feet, using his length, using the kicks to kind of crash in. He likes to do that, use his striking to kind of crash into the clinch to find takedowns. Has a really good 1-2 to kind of cover distance. And he was using the kicks, but it just seemed like he was kind of getting stonewalled by Hernandez, where you couldn't really find him on the feet. Hernandez was using his footwork really well, wasn't staying stationary to where Chase Hooper was able to kind of pin him down for the takedown. And it just seemed like eventually Hooper was starting to kind of lunge in with his strikes and is there to get hit. And that's the issue. is I feel like he's there to get hit in the pocket. I feel like he backs kind of straight up at times, doesn't have the best defense, kind of relies on his height at times to kind of lean out of the way of strikes, leaves his chin in the air. And I feel like if he can't really close the distance or get his timing down or really pin down his opponent, he really telegraphs his takedowns and really opens himself up for counters. And I'm concerned in this one with Lance Gibson, just his movement, his explosivity, the hard leg kicks. I could see him just chopping up Chase Hooper's leg, just being too good on the back foot, staying out of the way, making Chase Hooper pay in the pocket as he closes in. So I think he's going to be the bigger, stronger, more athletic guy on the feet, maybe not in the grappling. And Gibson's shown decent takedown defense. He was stuffing some takedowns on the regional scene, got taken down one time by Bobby Green, but again, he was kind of off balance on that one. And I don't know a lot about Lance Gibson's wrestling though. He does have some submissions on the regional scene, does have some ground and pound wins, but again, it's against subpar competition. I don't think he's going to sub somebody like Chase Hooper. So I feel like this fight is much closer than the odds are giving it. They've got Lance Gibson at plus 210 and Chase Hooper at minus 255. And I feel like if Hooper can't get this fight to the ground, he's going to struggle on the feet. I think he's going to get beat up there. I think Gibson Jr., as soon as he gets confidence in being able to stuff the takedowns, he'll start to open up with his strikes and use his movement and athleticism to stay away from Hooper and just kind of be tagging him up. But I think that if Hooper can get him to the ground, he can get the submission in this one. And the thing about this fight is I feel like Gibson Jr., although he does have the good footwork, I feel like he can't be backed up. We saw him getting backed up against Bobby Green, and in this fight I can see Chase Hooper just being the longer guy, backing him up with kicks, backing him up with big strikes, not afraid to really open up with the strikes either, because he would probably welcome a takedown from Gibson. And Chase Hooper's just fought the much better competition. He's been in the UFC since 2019. He's only 26 years old. Fought Alex Caceres, Steve Garcia, Jordan Levitt, Borshev, Jim Miller, Alexander Hernandez. I feel like a lot of these guys would beat Lance Gibson Jr., and he beat some of those guys and fared pretty well against others. Had his moments. So I'm going to go with Chase Hooper in this one. I think that he'll learn from his last fight against Alexander Hernandez, who again is very good. I think Hernandez would do very well against Lance Gibson Jr. But I'm going to go with Chase Hooper. I think that he'll use his striking, be a little bit more defensively responsible to where he's not getting caught, be able to kind of corral Lance Gibson along the cage, look to get into the clinch, look for takedowns. He's also got really good takedown entries. We saw that against Jim Miller, good single legs, good doubles. And I think that he'll eventually get Gibson Jr. to the ground and work his submission game there, because I think that is the best part of his game. We've seen him take out very high level guys when it does go to the ground, and I don't imagine, from what I've seen from Lance Gibson and what I know about his background, I don't think that he'll be able to hang with Hooper on the ground. So I think that Hooper can stay safe from Gibson on the feet, eventually get to the ground and find his submission. So I'm gonna go Chase Hooper. I think he'll get this one done by second round submission. Thanks.